Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14, presented by Stakes. We are talking this morning, this would be Friday morning around 10:20 Central, about the Ole Miss / Auburn coaching situation. I don't know how else to put it. A lot of people have thought that Lane Kiffin going to Auburn was imminent. Ole Miss loses the Egg Bowl last night in fairly dramatic fashion, and Lane Kiffin in the post-game press conference, when asked, "Are you expecting to coach at Ole Miss next year?" says yes. When asked, "Do you expect to be the coach at Auburn next year if offered," or something along those lines, said no. And here we are. Ole Miss fans are upset after having lost 2 straight games. Auburn fans are waiting whatever their fate may be. You got indications that Kiffin is staying in Oxford. You still got people on the Auburn side confident Lane Kiffin is going to be Auburn's next coach. I spent an embarrassing amount of time reading the Auburn Sports and the Rebel Road Premium message boards, which are run by my friends Jay Tate and Neil McCready. And here we are on Friday morning, just throwing our hands up.
A lot of clarity here, it seems, on what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's funny because like every time Lane Kiffin, I think, speaks on some of this, it's like people get more convinced that he's going to Auburn in terms of like even when he says one thing or the, and we've said before, like sometimes it can be what you don't say that matters. Yeah, I mean, I think here's what I think we know at this point, right? As of Friday morning, we're recording this. We think we're pretty confident this thing's down to 2 guys, and that's Lane Kiffin or Hugh Freeze, unless there's just unless both parties, Ole Miss or Lane Kiffin.
Are we confident in anything?
Well, again, if there is anything we are confident in, if there is any sort of confidence at any level on anything with this coaching search, I think the only thing we could say that about is that the 2 names that have come up the most, and we said this from the start. You remember we did our initial video when this started going down. Our thought was we said Hugh Freeze is probably going to be the guy. Like that was you and I. Our first prediction was I said I would take Lane Kiffin. He would be my first choice, but I said I think Hugh Freeze will be the one they'll take. So like we haven't really gone anywhere different. It's just the nature of getting there has gotten a lot more interesting, just given the whole, Kiffin, the report and all that other stuff that we've already talked about in another video. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing too, right? And I don't know that anything's different, but if you talk about just the sentiment, if Ole Miss wins the Egg Bowl and sort of, all the comments afterwards from Lane Kiffin and all that, but like it feels like the reversing of the momentum that,
Oh, I think that fan base has turned on him a good bit.
Well, and see, and that's where I think
you know what?
It's interesting.
I don't blame them because he could have shut this down a long time ago. I think he let it become a distraction that potentially cost his team 2 games. And I'm sorry, I get that you were trying to do what's best for yourself and maybe your program, but the games matter. Ole Miss had a lot to play for, Blake. Ole Miss had a Sugar Bowl, perhaps something like that, at a rivalry game. When the game takes second stage and it's the Egg Bowl, and that is, I mean, as heated as Alabama-Auburn is, Ole Miss, Mississippi State is right up there with it. It's not as big of a game on the radar nationally as Alabama-Auburn, but I mean, those 2 teams despise each other as much as anybody. I think when you were getting paid that much money, you owe it to your team to be focused, to be careful in how you choose your words and your actions, and to spend a ton of your week on Twitter going after journalists, whatever. I'm sorry, that's a lack of focus. You're getting paid too much at your current job to do that.
Well, and let's remember too, right? Like this is the same Ole Miss team that started 7-0 this season. And what did they finish? They finished 8-4. And we said,
their last 5.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that was the nature of the schedule. We said the last part of their schedule was brutal, but this is when, if you're going to make that jump, as a program, this is where you do it. Because you had LSU, A&M, which they won the A&M game, but lost against Alabama, lost to Arkansas, lost to Mississippi State. So all of this is kind of combined with all the speculation in the middle of a 3-game losing streak and losing 4 of your last 5. So basically losing 4 games in the past month since that October 22nd game against LSU. And so I think that's the, the frustration part now. And that's where, again, this thing gets more fascinating is because, yes, Lane Kiffin said all the right things. He said all the right things now, but I think this is also a question of, for Auburn, has anything changed on their front? I wouldn't think so in terms of their perception of Lane Kiffin. Um, because I think if he's been the main target all along, which that's what we've been led to believe, we can't prove that, but that's certainly what a lot of people in the know seem to suggest, that he has been the top target this whole time. Um, has anything changed there? I don't know. I think, again, to me, I think we're to the point. If it's not Lane Kiffin, which I know people are saying, why are you still saying it could be him? Because, Chris, what's the main thing we point out all the time in this? Until this thing is done, it's not done. Like, there's nothing official. Anybody can say anything, and people will point back to many people over the years that have done that, right? Whether it's Nick Saban with the Dolphins, whether it's Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, take your pick. Like, this is just how it works in this business. Guys will say anything, knowing that people will eventually turn the page, no matter what. Like, there's going to be another story that pops up in the next 24 hours that will be bigger than, oh, well, you said this, but decided to do this. Like, it's just, that's how it works. But I look at this now and I feel like it's pretty clear that this is a Hugh Freeze or Lane Kiffin scenario. It looks like there's a lot more momentum behind Hugh Freeze now based on where things are at with Kiffin. But man, this is just like, it's like your head spinning. But I don't know. Is this also part of the situation that's just been created in terms of what the expectations are at Auburn, and understanding that, like you said from the start, Chris, with this job, whoever walks into it knows what they're going to be dealing with in terms of, what is wanted there and what the expectations are. And man, that just makes this, it's an interesting one. So,
Well, if you're rooting for interesting, which we always are, the most interesting scenario would be Kiffin staying at Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze coming back to the SEC.
yeah.
Hugh Freeze, as Ole Miss's coach, beat Alabama twice. Not a lot of guys can say that since Nick Saban's been there. You've got Ole Miss's former coach back in the same division. I mean, this could be fascinating. The coaching roster in this league next year, oh my goodness. If this is what happens, I guess we can still root for Dion, can't we? We need to get Dion somewhere.
It sounds like Dion's going to, what's it?
Colorado?
What was it? Well, yeah, but Brett McMurphy reported like one of the hangups was about the what was it, the academy or whatever it was. But I think it looks like that Colorado is pretty much all in on Dion here, and you couldn't blame him, right?
Which is not a bad gamble at this point. Colorado's been so low for so
got nothing
long.
to lose. Yeah, they got nothing to lose here, so I wouldn't blame them at all. Meanwhile, I think maybe, again, if you're Auburn, you may feel like it's a little bit more of a risk, just given the proven coaching experience beyond Jackson State. But yeah, I mean, this is, here's, like I said, I think I would be stunned if it's not Lane Kiffin, which again, people will say it's 100% not. I don't think we can say that just yet, but I think we're at the scenario where, let's just call it what it is. If Hugh Freeze is offered that job, he's taking it.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, that's part of the equation too, right? Like we said in that last video, part of the wording on the previous report is that no one had been offered the job yet. So if we know that's the case and no one's been officially offered, which my guess is, Chris, here's why, that will come after Saturday, after the Iron Bowl. Then I think
nobody puts themselves in position to be turned down.
Yeah. So after the Iron Bowl,
I haven't turned it down because you haven't asked.
Right.
And that's when you don't ask when you don't think I'm going to take it.
And that's the point. It's like the official offer will be made after the Iron Bowl is our suggestion, or our expectation, on that. Then that's where we know. I think we will know on Sunday what is going down.
Yeah.
Like, period. Like, because again, if we say, okay, Lane Kiffin's staying there at Ole Miss, there you go. Then I think it's very clear that I would be 90 whatever percent certain that the next offer seemingly goes to Hugh Freeze and he's the next coach at Auburn. I think any other scenario I would be very surprised by.
Okay, before we wrap up, a word to our presenting sponsor, Stakes. Predict sports better than the crowd. For a chance to win NFTs, with Stakes, players can forever submit their sports predictions against friends, other fans, and influencers. Don't let your sports genius go overlooked. Join Stakes and have the best predictions captured in the moment. Go to playwithstakes.com/14. Use our invite code Southeastern14 for a double welcome bonus. Okay. So we have to guess at 10:30 Friday morning. We're both going Hugh Freeze.
It's funny because we were very confident in our last video that it was going to be Lane Kiffin, but man, I tell you, I think because here's why I think this has gotten more complicated because it's what we just talked about. I think the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss situation has gotten a lot more complicated now.
Yeah.
And man, I'm just like, if Auburn officially makes that offer, and maybe there was a point on Wednesday where he's like, I don't care, I'm good here. But I feel like just the news cycle, the loss to Mississippi State, like we said, there's a lot of negative momentum, I think, there right now. And, does he just say, you know what, I'm going to do what I what I enjoy doing sometimes, and that's, seemingly just turning things upside down in terms of, you know, uh, yeah, I guess the stronger feel is Hugh Freeze at this point, but again, that's a separate video. Perhaps it's kind of where things go from here with Kiffin and Ole Miss should he stay there. So
I'm just blown away with how secondary the Egg Bowl became last night.
I told you I don't bet often,
but you did bet on that one
2 days ago.
And you picked the right side.
I bet Mississippi State in the money line because I was just concerned about how all of this was going to go down, whether positive or negative. It became the story, and
yeah,
I mean it was This is what I said. I don't bet much. I know we do a lot of predictions, but as we always say, we do them for fun on our side. We know a lot of people are watching it from a betting standpoint, but I just I looked at that game and thought, man, the story is not the Egg Bowl. The story is Lane Kiffin. And I mean, here's the thing, right? If he does go back to Ole Miss, what happens next season? What's the next job that opens that this becomes, I don't know. So
I think if I'm Ole Miss and he does this again, I'm just saying, fine. Just go.
I mean, I don't know, man.
I mean, because how many times can you do this? The guy that's made out really well this weekend is Jimmy Sexton.
Well, as always. I mean, he's undefeated. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Jimmy Sexton. We can talk about Nick Saban's history. Kirby Smart's been undefeated the past 2 years now. Assuming they don't lose to Georgia Tech or LSU, but like Jimmy Sexton's just undefeated. Period. Like he just, I don't know. So I mean, Kiffin 5-5 at Ole Miss in year one, 10-3 last season. They go 8-4 this season. Gonna have a bowl game coming up. Yeah. So it seems like the focus has shifted to Hugh Freeze, and if that's the case, but again, I still think Kiffin's the favorite and the wild card at the same time because I just don't think you know what's going to happen. No matter what he says, I still just don't think you know what he's going to do. So,
and if Kiffin were to take the Auburn job, Ole Miss goes where?
I mean, Hugh Freeze is available, right? But full circle, right? Let's just go full circle here. No, I mean, I don't think they would do that. But yeah, I mean, you'd mentioned like Jamie Chadwell and guys like that you would expect that would probably be in the discussion.
Chadwell, I have a feeling ends up at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I was going to say that's right. We talked about that on the live stream. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like I said, guys like Matt Rule are still out there that are going to get back.
What's the word on Rule in Nebraska these days? I mean, kind of like he might be the guy there.
We weren't surprised. We said that from the beginning. We said that's kind of seemed like the natural fit as a candidate there, and I think he's still. My guess is that's probably the most likely destination if he does take a job, which assuming no jobs come available that we're not expecting, but that would be the expectation, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question because I mean, I think there's a lot of good coaches out there that Ole Miss would be in play for, just because again, it is an SEC job. You've got a lot of guys I think who have had some success. Yeah, I mean, I think you'll have guys names pop up like Dave Aranda and many other. I'm not saying that's the fit, right? We're just talking about the name of. It seems like there is a similar pool of guys who are out there that always kind of pop up for some of these, high profile jobs. And of course, he went 12-2 at Baylor last year. They went 6-4 this year, but
Dave Aranda would be a good pick.
well, and I'm just throwing a name out there. Please, no one
Yeah.
run to a message board and say that we're suggesting he's going to be the next coach at Ole Miss. That's not what we're doing here. We're just it's kind of that cycle. I don't think it's going to be Bill O'Brien. I have nothing against Bill O'Brien. I just don't think he's going to be the next coach at Ole Miss if Kiffin leaves. But again, it's kind of that. I think it's like that group of guys, that you again seemingly we always hear about, and just kind of in different spots and who's the right fit. So it's hard to know with Ole Miss, I think, just because that would be we'll see. So
Luke Fickell's name has been connected if there's a vacancy. I mean, but he's going to be Luke Fickell's name is going to be connected almost everywhere at this point.
And there are going to be assistants,
whether that's wishful thinking or not. But anyway.
And there are assistant coaches that we know will, be in the conversation, as always. So there's a lot of different routes you could go in there, I'm sure. So,
all right, well, I'm sure we'll talk about when it's done. Which
we'll do another one of these where we have the same conversation and say, oh well, this is it's what it is. So
the best part is that our first take, which is 6 weeks ago or whatever.
It's really not that much different.
How long ago was that when we did the Hugh Freeze?
It was probably a month ago.
When was Chiswick fired?
Maybe I don't know.
He was fired after
Chiswick. You're talking about Harsin. You're going way back. Let me get you the date on that.
They fired so many coaches, they all run together.
Let me get you the.
Yeah, that was a neat slip there, wasn't it?
There you go. Gene Chiswick was. Hold on, I'm just gonna look this up for you, Chris. I'm gonna get you the official timeline here. Actually, I have no idea. After the 2012 season, so that was only a decade ago.
He was fired after the Arkansas game, right?
They went 3-9 his last season there, and so I guess that.
No. I'm talking about.
Oh, hold on. Wait, sorry.
Harsin.
I was still on Gene Chiswick. Yeah,
this is unintentional comedy hour.
Yes, I think that's correct. We're not laughing at anyone being fired, by the way. We're just
laughing at me.
It's Chris. Cool. So yeah,
I've earned it. October 29th was the last game he coached. So
meanwhile,
I think our most accurate thing we've done with all the passage of time was we thought Hugh Freeze would be the next coach. We should have just left it there and maybe banked on a win. But anyway.
And listen, and meanwhile, Cadillac's going to go out and win the Iron Bowl, and we're going to have to reset our whole discussion here. So I don't think it's going to happen. But listen, give Cadillac props.
The winners this week have been Jimmy Sexton and those who run premium message board communities at Auburn and Ole Miss.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, we hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. We've got a ton of stuff coming up. We've been doing basketball content. We've been doing football previews. We'll do football wrap-ups. We'll do bowl predictions when those come out in a couple of weeks. We'll do the SEC championship preview of LSU and Georgia. And we'll also do our Wednesday night live stream, which is a great time for you to come in and ask us questions. Best way to get all that is to hit that subscribe button. That's free, and you can get notifications and when we're coming on. And hopefully next time we do this, my voice will sound better. Anyway, he's Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. Thanks for watching us at Southeastern 14, presented by Steaks.